Welcome back to the Aviatrix Demo Day video series. This is episode 8, and in this episode we're going to be focusing on the operational aspects and functionality of the Aviatrix multi-cloud networking platform. Let's start with Aviatrix CoPilot. If you recall, in the first episode we talked about how to deploy the Aviatrix controller and CoPilot. Now it's time to dive into the CoPilot platform and see everything it can offer us. Aviatrix CoPilot is a standalone instance that runs in unison with the Aviatrix controller. It talks to the controller, to the gateways, it receives information, it does number crunching, analytics, and then displays these details in easily digestible formats. Let's jump right in. This is the Aviatrix CoPilot Dashboard. The dashboard provides a high-level view of the health of the network across your entire multi-cloud environment. We'll provide you information about the health of the Aviatrix gateways that you have deployed, the VPN users that are active, the transit gateways that are attached, the BGP connections that are up or down, and many other things. Everything on this page is interactive, so we can dive deeper to see which BGP connections are up or down. If there was something down, you would have an alert status down here. Instead of being green, it would be orange. If we scroll down this page, we give you a breakdown of how you've deployed your virtual data centers across all your CSPs, where they're located, how many gateways there are per cloud, accounts per cloud, transit gateways per cloud. And as we go further down, we can see the breakdown of how you're using Aviatrix gateways across all your different cloud service providers, the gateway types, the regions they're deployed in, and the sizes of the gateways you have deployed. The traffic tab of the dashboard provides you an aggregate view of all the traffic going across your multi-cloud network. So you can see here a chart that shows you the trends of traffic going across all your gateways aggregated from all your clouds. If we scroll down, we can go a little bit deeper. We can see that data on a per region basis, no matter what CSP you're in. If you want to get even more details, you can click this pop out, and you can see here specific information for that particular transit environment in the CSP that you selected. If we scroll further down, we can see that same information on a per VPC, VNet, or VCN basis. Even further down, we can go more granular and see that information on a per gateway basis. And lastly, at the bottom, we can give you those details on a per instance basis. Remember, if you have an Aviatrix data plane, all the traffic is ingressing and egressing the Aviatrix gateways, and so we can collect this packet level data to provide outputs for you. Moving on to the topology page, we're able to visualize the architecture of the multi-cloud network that you're building with the Aviatrix platform. As you can see here, I have a full mesh of network connectivity across many different CSPs. I have Google, I have AWS, and I have Azure here. We can open up these clusters of gateways and see what's connected to them and what instances live in those VPCs. Let's open them all up. If I zoom out, you can see how everything connects to each other. We're able to give you metadata on every instance, network, VPC, or VNet. We'll show you what connections are up or down, the health of this connectivity. We'll even give you details on the latency from spoke to hub, hub to hub, cloud to cloud. You can use this for visual troubleshooting. So I can select a gateway, which is a data plane node that lives right next to your workloads, and run diagnostics in the same network where your workloads live. So I click diag, and I can now do a ping, a trace route, a layer 4 connection test. I can visualize the active sessions going in and out of that gateway. I can even search through these active sessions to ensure that the traffic that you expect is making it across the network. And lastly, we can see the interface stats of all those gateways. You can custom make topologies, you can save, you can load, you can create tags and filter. There's so many things you can do with topology. We even have a transit view of this to simplify it all. Right down in the middle is a cluster of Aviatrix transits, and everything hanging off of it are spokes. A very nice way to visualize this. If we go over to the latency monitor section, we can now take a look at all the latencies being collected across all your clouds. This is all historical as well, so we can see last day, last week, last month, or some custom period of time. It's a nice way to ensure that the problem is not the underlay, it's not the CSP or not the internet itself, and that maybe it's an application problem that you're experiencing. You can see this historically, or you can go into a live mode. Moving on to Topology Replay. Topology Replay provides a detailed view of all the changes that are occurring in real time across your multi-cloud network. Any user making a change on the Aviatrix platform is recorded here and then pinpointed on a timeline. You can click on all the different events occurring and get the exact details of what is happening in your network. For example, a couple minutes ago, via the Aviatrix controller, I built a new gateway. I called it Dana New Gateway. You can see here now it's highlighting that gateway, and you can scroll through and see all the things that were added to that gateway and to the network to make that gateway come up. Now what you can do is give that change a name. So let's give it a name. Let's call that Dana's New Gateway Change. You can put a note in here. I added a gateway. Great. Let's save it. Now let's say you have made many changes and you want to be able to search through these changes. Well, you can do that as well. I can click the search button. I can search for a keyword of Dana. And there's a lot of changes that I've made in the past that have the word Dana in it, my name. But this is the one I want to talk about right here. You can also click on Audit, and it will take you to a list of all the API calls that are happening on the platform. API calls in this scenario equal changes. So if we go back and take a look at the last month of changes and search my username, Yanch, there's 366 things that I've done on this platform. You can go through and see every single thing that I've changed in my multi-cloud network architecture. Moving on to FlowIQ. FlowIQ is one of the most powerful components of the CoPilot engine. We are collecting packet level detail using NetFlow v9 and then placing our own analytics on top to provide these easily digestible outputs. You can see here all the different graphs and charts that we're able to provide, top talkers of source IPs, destination ports, source ports, and everything that NetFlow v9 can collect. Now you can click on anything here and it's interactive and live. So let's say I'm curious, well, what is this purple flow? It seems to be a lot of data coming from this source IP. Let's click that and it automatically will create a filter for that particular source IP, and then everything else is now focused on that source. So that source is talking to these destination IPs, these destination ports, etc. Really powerful. Now you can also create your own filters. Let's add a filter. You can do and or statements, you can have multiple groups, you can do a not statement, all sorts of logic to create your own custom filter for all your apps. You can then save those filters and load them at any time to visualize details on a particular app. Those filters show up over here. You can go back in time, last month, 6 months, however much storage you throw at this platform. The Trends tab shows you information about the top talking destination port names, source addresses, destination addresses, and the total bandwidth being used across your network. Now you can always use those filters that you created previously to focus this data on a specific application if that's what you want to do. The same filters and same information can be leveraged in the other tabs of the FlowIQ sections. For example, we can go to geolocation and take a look at all the traffic going across our network and see where is it coming from, where is it going, which cities, states, countries, and continents. We can see the same information with more details under the flows section. This is a Sankey chart. You can see all the source destination flows, and the thicker the line, the more data was pushed for that flow during that period of time. We can get quite granular here. We can download this data as well, and you can see the detailed nitty-gritty information under the records section. You can add 80 different columns of information and save and edit your views on how you want to visualize this information. You can download it all into a CSV, searching through it. It's really up to you on what you want to do with this information. We also provide visibility into the performance of your data plane. Aviatrix is not a black box. We want to provide you all the information you need to run an enterprise class network in the cloud. So you can see all the details about the free memory, CPU utilization, transfer rate, etc. about all the data plane nodes in your Aviatrix multi-cloud network. The Cloud Route section of CoPilot is a beautiful way to parse through all the routing information collected by the controller and gateways. We'll provide the information about all the routes the gateways have learned from other networks or other clouds or from on-premise. We'll provide information about all the routes that are learned and programmed in all your different VPCs and VNets. You can search through all this information. If you have a lot of VPNs connected to your Aviatrix Transit or Spoke environment, you can parse through those VPNs and see the status of them and the details of that VPN connection. If you're running BGP across VPNs or direct connects, you can get information from that as well. So for example, we can open this transit here, and what you can see is that I have a lot of different BGP neighbors that are up right now. They're all established, so everything looks healthy. If I want to see what that looks like from a map perspective, here's my Aviatrix gateway that's running BGP. I have BGP peering relationships with all sorts of different routers and SD-WAN boxes, whatever you want to connect via BGP, we support. You can see that the status is up, they're green, they're good to go. If you want to learn what routes are learned over those BGP peerings, you can see that here. You can search through them if you have many routes, and you can also see the advertised routes towards those BGP neighbors. Moving on to the notification section, this is a nice way to have a global notification center for all the different things happening in your multi-cloud network. You can create custom alerts. For example, CPU utilization. I can create that, and I can change my thresholds for different CPU utilization alerts. I can add recipients. They can be emails, or you can use webhooks to send webhook information to Slack, for example. You can actually see these notifications live. So if I go to the notification tree section, I can open this up, and you can see here that I had a new alert and a tunnel was down, but then that was closed because the tunnel was resolved. Next up is AppIQ. This allows us to run a report from instance to instance to see all sorts of information. So let's run that report and see what it generates. We'll select two different instances running in my network and then run the test. All right, so what we're going to be able to see here is the path to get from source to destination. You can see it hits these gateways and goes across this multi-cloud transit environment. And you can also see that some links are up or some links are down. In this case, this peering is down. If we scroll, you can see all the latency end to end as well. We'll also see all the performance data from gateway to gateway. And if there's traffic going across that path, we'll also collect that information and provide it here for you. Lastly, we'll run what's called a flight path. A flight path is a way to visualize and ensure that all the native constructs and the Aviatrix constructs and data plane nodes are configured correctly to pass that traffic successfully. So we'll take a look at network ACLs, route tables, security groups. We'll highlight the ones that are being hit for that application traffic. We'll take a look at all the route table details on the Aviatrix side as well. And when we get to the other side of the network, we'll do the same thing. You can see here that a security group failed. That means there wasn't an entry for that particular source to get to that destination. So we can quickly pinpoint configuration errors across your multi-cloud network. Lastly, we'll take a look at the security section of CoPilot. First up is domain segmentation. If you recall in an earlier episode, we built these multi-cloud network segments, which are similar to VRFs. It separates our VPCs and VNets application traffic from each other. We placed some VPCs and VNets in one segment and others in another segment. We then connected those segments together. Here we can provide a logical and physical view of that segmentation. In this environment, I have three different segments: AWS VM, Azure VM, and AWS VM 2. You can see here that the AWS VM security domains are not connected to anything but themselves. So all these spokes can talk to each other because they're in the same security domain. You can visualize that here by hovering over the name of the spoke. But if you look over to the left, AWS Spoke 1, which is in AWS VM2 security domain, has a connection policy to talk to the Azure VM security domain. So you can see I hover over it and bam, there you have the connectivity policy displayed in a really nice fashion. If you scroll down, we can also see the relationships of the security domains by hovering over them. We can also visualize this on a physical view. Just another way to see it. Last but not least, let's take a look at egress. Aviatrix provides FQDN filtering as a part of the platform, and this is just a way to aggregate all the information about all the FQDNs that your applications are trying to reach. We can see the top visited URLs, the top source IPs, the top rules hit if you had any rules set, top visited countries, and the amount of requests per gateway. All these details are aggregated here for you to search through and gather as much information as you need to do your troubleshooting in the most effective manner possible. And that's it for this video series. I highly recommend you go to our YouTube channel and take a look at all the content we have around this platform and to hear from our customers about how the power of Aviatrix is transforming their business and their cloud networks. I'd like to thank you for listening and look forward to seeing you in the next one.